Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Respecting the Beer. My name is Gary Arndt. With me, as usual, the couple who was named a power couple for 2026 in Brewing magazine, Allison and Bobby Fleshman. Welcome back to the show. And we have a special guest, the man who the New York Times said is personally killing the craft beer industry, Mr. Joel Hermansen.
Okay, that requires some context.
Oh, there's just
Not really.
truth to this.
I actually wasn't cited in the article.
I think it was
the
heavily
archetype
implied they were talking
behind-
about you.
I was the archetype behind the article.
And that's for a later episode.
It was someone
Oh,
called
definitely. We're going to have the author on, too.
Yeah,
and
they talked to Mole Germanson,
right.
the person that they were referring to. So we've talked about one of the things that they brought up in this article, which is why I mentioned it, was a bunch of things that were hurting the craft beer industry. Crazy names, IPAs,
Non-IPAs.
But one of the things, and we've addressed this kind of obliquely before in previous episodes, but we're going to go to it head on today, is hazies. And you've kind of mentioned that, like, when you started the brewery, you didn't really want to do hazies, but then the market kind of demands it, and then you have to do a hazy, and then there's a lot of places that do hazies. So we're going to talk about the hazy that you brew and the variations thereof, because there are several. And so why don't we just start with, why did you sell out and do a hazy?
Do you wear a disguise when you brew that? Like, are you back there with, like, a fake wig and a beard that's fake?
Well, that's funny.
Well, no, because we can't, via FDA regulations, have beards exposed.
Oh, yeah. No, clown wigs are allowed.
No, he wears like the Humpty glasses.
I do have a Flavor Flav clock, but I'm not sure that is a disguise as much as an ornament. So let's start with the name. The name of its alter ego. So in that vein, it is everything that McFleshman's isn't. So we ended up making this hazy. It's not everything that we're not, but it's not a traditional style.
I would have called it Parallel Universe.
Parallel universe.
Yeah, it's definitely parallel.
Yeah. There was a pool, I think, as to when I would finally cave and make it.
And finally cave, meaning that the brewing industry, like most breweries, craft breweries, started having a hazy around 2017?
About
the year?
I don't have it in front of me, but Hetty Topper, the Alchemist, was the first for Vermont. Well, I'm sure that's debatable, but they are highly cited as being the first. That must have been.
Before we go any further, define what a hazy is.
Yeah,
cool.
And I'm trying to think back to the Hetty Topper because that's the one that defines the style. So it was something created, and it was created for the intention of making full flavor and fruitiness from the full flavor, the smoothness, the full-bodied fruitiness, everything except bitterness, really. And yeah, right?
Wow.
So
can I just pause for a second? So I am drinking a stout right now, and I haven't actually had our hazy in about 2 years, I think, because I always tend towards the ales and such. But there is like no hops whatsoever that I can taste in this.
It's flavor and aroma, but no bitter.
It's not bitterness.
No
it's
astringency.
All fruity. And I'm kind of taken aback by it because it's really good.
So they were pushing back to the West Coast idea of what an IPA is. This is the way I see it anyway. And I think it's documented as such. In New England, they wanted to create their own thing. They didn't want to have to brew West Coast IPA in Vermont. And so they created, and also they were trying to respond to a modern palate. People wanted something that was less bitter. There is what's called a lupulin shift, and you have to drink enough IPA until you can handle drinking double IPAs.
Now, lupulin is the alpha acid in the hops that make it that bitter taste that kind of lingers on your tongue and makes you pucker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know that is an Armenian word, and it is Joel's middle name.
It is.
Lupulin.
If it isn't, it will be.
Did you know that Joel is Armenian?
I know, that's...
Yeah.
There, full circle. So they were putting this together, they being the Alchemists, and I'm sure a dozen other breweries in that region. They were putting together the tools and the know-how to make something that was all of those things. Their intention, however, was never for it to be hazy. That was a consequence. And none of what I just said had anything to do with what it looks like. and it looked like hell. It looked like chicken soup in a can. So they started to market it. Once they made it, it was well received. They made it again, and it snowballed. But all along the way, go ahead now.
Oh, I was just going to go ahead.
I was going to say that along the way, they were trying to figure out how to deal with this god-awful looking thing in a glass. And so they decided not to allow it to be put into a glass. So if you read a heady topper, it says, don't take it out of the can for all these reasons for aroma. That now is more historical than it is anything else because people have embraced the appearance of these beers. But originally they were trying to hide the appearance from you, and they were hiding behind the idea that it would make it a more focused aroma.
Now, this seemingly new style hit the market, and then everyone went crazy for it. And there's rumors of Heady Topper having a line out the door that was like a 5-hour wait. But they've been known as many things. Now, correct me when I'm wrong on this one. They've been known as juicy, because they really taste more citrusy. They're
or
more like,
melony or
melon or like fruit flavored instead of bitter. They've been known as the Hazy IPA, the New England IPA, and then there's
juicy hazy. Yeah.
Wasn't there
and they
another
become
one?
the beer for like your milkshakes. So when you start,
Which that's just gross. Let's
that's when vanilla comes into the equation, and
That's outrageous.
yeah, it goes pretty far. We'll get to that later. I know.
didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can't have that be a thing here.
We'll get to variations that we do on this one in a minute.
So anyway, it's a easy drinking beer, and honestly, it's a really great gateway beer for folks that don't like the bitter flavor that hops yield. That it's fruity. It tastes like grapefruit juice in a lot of cases.
So in nature, you find terpenes, and they give you all these aromas we associate with fruits.
Terpenes are the fresh cut grass smell.
As an example, but they're all these different things that we associate with all these different vegetables and fruits, and hops are really high in them, and you can combine them and trick your palate into thinking that you're consuming fruits, and so for that, they were trying to use these hops. By the way, these hops were throwaway hops back 50 years ago that make these high melon, citrus flavors and aromas because the Germans were sort of the founding fathers of everything we know of in beer today, and they were looking for clean lager, what we call noble Sots types hops. Clean, just a little bit woody or a little bit spicy. And they were throwaway. No one was developing these things until an industry came along, like the craft beer industry in the United States in the early 80s and on through to the 2000s. And now we've got a new hop variety arriving every week on the scene and a market to embrace it.
Oh, God. Well, and this one came out in like it was pre-COVID. We had just opened, and you and I swore we would never brew a hazy.
Well, I had just gotten out of brewing school, and all I had learned was how to make a clear beer.
Yeah.
And the day that I graduate from brewing school, it feels like that's the day that Heady Topper it was released on the market.
So in other words, it's a dysfunction.
Well, it's a brand new interpretation, and it's got to be something
Kind of like the tulips that had that variegation with them. That was actually like a genetic flaw, but then they sold a lot of them, and they were more expensive because of that flaw.
And I think it can be cerebral after having done it and worked with it so long. But I also think that it can be very chaotic. It doesn't. It's like jazz, I think. And I don't know jazz. I'm not like that into it, but I do understand that there's good jazz, there's bad jazz, and I think that this style can cover the gamut in how it's interpreted, but it never plays by the rules. That's the thing that has broken people's brains about it, including me. But it also made me technically interested to do it. I was hiding behind that we have to do this for our brand, but I was really interested in it as a brewer. I wanted to dig into it.
Well, and it has a cult following around here. Like
it's the only beer I've ever seen.
Absolutely appeals
Gotta
to
shout
a specific.
I
to
have seen
Bruce.
People
Right. Shout out to
Yes.
Bruce.
Yeah.
I've seen people jump out of their seat when they try one for the first time. Like, they are so like, oh my God, that's so good.
Well,
And
I didn't want to just make it because that it pays bills and that's where the market is. I mean, that's sort of where we eventually went with it, was to follow the market. But I personally wanted to make it because I thought we could do as good as anyone else, even though we're not known for it. And so we worked on it behind the scenes, first on paper. We're trying to find these New Zealand hop varieties. I think New Zealand hop varieties play a big role in this. We can talk about the Southern Hemisphere impact on hop expression at some point, but I wanted to do that where everyone else seems to be leaning a little bit more Northern Hemisphere, at least at that time. We wanted to run away from that. It was more melon, papaya, and really complex. Less, in some ways, less fruity and just more layered.
What are you putting into it in terms of fruit?
No fruit. Now,
So there's literally no fruit in your
get to
alter ego.
We'll
Right.
exactly.
In the base beer and in a fruity IPA, the hazy, juicy
That
IPA.
surprises me.
Loaded with
it's
terpenes.
all
Yeah.
hops that are yielding those
And if you
flavors.
like I was mentioning with New Zealand, you get a certain soil and climate in New Zealand that makes some of these grapes high in thiols, and they express differently, and people love New Zealand wines for that reason. But that same soil can make these hops express the same way. These same terpenes sneak into the outcome.
So this actually appeals to the scientific, inventive, and curious side of your brain, doesn't
Oh my God, yeah. As much as I was annoyed by it, I was also I was awake at night trying to understand it, and it was something I didn't see coming. It wasn't a natural progression for beer.
So another question. We've talked a lot about how when you make a Pilsner or a lager, you will go out of your way to treat the water to try to emulate the original water. With this, it seems like there's no basis, right? So it's kind of freestyle.
It's
so
all
what are
about
you
the
doing?
water.
This is one place where the entire industry I would think agrees. So where one extreme we would have an English IPA where you put a ton of sulfate, so calcium sulfate into that, because you're really trying to play up the bitterness and that sharp, tingy finish, and it really that kind of plays through most of all IPAs all the way through West Coast. But then comes along this beer who is the antithesis of West Coast and wants to not play up that bitterness, but rather that malty fruitiness. And that salt is, I went blank, calcium chloride. And calcium chloride, the chloride is what gives you that roundness. And it suppresses that bitterness. It gives you more of a full, lingering palate onto which to layer these malts and these hops. And by the way, that's the other thing. It's a lot. It's not a little. It's like 4-to-1 ratio in terms of the calcium chloride to the sulfate, and that's fairly unanimous across the industry. The question is, you got the ratio. Now, how much are the absolute?
It seems odd that
amounts?
for such a new beer that there would be a consensus.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if one brewery gets credit for making it and everyone coalesces around it, you have an opportunity to really well define it. So it goes a couple ways. People didn't rebel against the formulation per se, although we can talk about how you make them hazy and make them hazy for a long time. They were more trying to come to terms with how do we, as an industry, market this and not sell our souls and leave behind why we all got into this and our existing market as we dive into the new one. But I was going to say one more thing about mouthfeel, calcium chloride. The other one is you have to not use malted barley. You're using you can use malted or unmalted wheat. You'll use flaked oats. And one of the tricks up our sleeves, we work with Malt Europe based in Milwaukee. And they make a particular crystal wheat that I absolutely adore, and it shows up in Stepchild too, and it gives just a little more roundness and a little more mouthfeel. Put it in about 4% in that recipe. And by the way, anyone that wants to know my recipe, just email me. What's up?
Don't do that. I'm raising my hand because I have a question. So is it adding those types of wheat adds more proteins and that's what causes the haze?
Yep, well, that gives it that mouthfeel.
Okay.
And as to what causes the haze, this is really funny. And originally, I don't think this is where the Alchemist was coming up with.
I love that it's the Alchemist, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, Alchemist. I think I'm saying it.
Yeah.
It's Alchemist.
Alchemist.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You saying Alchemist is the person who's like created the chemistry of this makes me happy.
Where was I? They weren't intending to make something hazy, but once it became a thing, then everybody's trying to figure out how to make it the same haze for the same length of
And
time.
just to ask the dumb question, you're not filtering this?
Right. But sidebar, there's a brewery, rhymes with Titletown. about 20 miles from here that does filter it. And
that is on the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick, by the way, that has the world's largest tides, Titletown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, this is the thing. This is where you get into the process, and I don't know if that's meant to be public knowledge, but you can take it out and put it back in. You can control the haze in different ways. We're also trying to figure that out. Some people will run it through a centrifuge, and that removes the sediment, and then you can put it back in, or to varying degrees, you remove it to begin with.
Would Irish moss do anything?
Irish moss, ironically, is a positive.
For those who are listening, who are homebrewers, your Werflock tabs, or sometimes if you use plain Irish moss, has that clarifying quality. Does it play a role?
Carrageenan, yeah. Carrageenan has a certain molecular charge to it, and it can pull out these proteins that cause haze. But here's the irony: if you don't use that, I actually do have learned. I'm giving all the secrets away. I have learned to use carrageenan in the boil kettle, even with this style, because my intention is to pull out the haze-causing particles that will precipitate out in a short period of time. I'm more interested in those long-term haze-causing particles, and that's why you get an elegant haze and not chicken soup in that glass for 6 months down the road. Those are some tricks that I've learned. That's one. Altering pH when I do the Whirlpool post-brew kettle, I've learned from Charlie Bamforth. He's told me in certain sort of ambiguous terms as to look at that pH, and we started to play with that pH, and we identified that if you hit a certain number, you can create a shelf-stable haze. So my mind is blown, right? I'm trying to make clear beers 9 days out of the week, but then you got to take that hat off, and put this other one on. Whatever that means, 9 out of 10 days.
Okay, so everything we've described so far is your alter ego, which is your stock hazy. Yeah.
But
you also have the Mazy, and the Blazy.
And the crazy.
And we have Lazy.
And Lazy.
And there's another one.
Can I make a suggestion?
I'm working on Daisy, which is going to be the NA Hazy.
You know how you make
THC.
wine for your Ultima? Or the Ultima Rosé? You take that, you put it in your IPA. Purple haze.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can I tell one of my favorite Bobby stories right now?
It depends.
No, totally appropriate.
Cool.
So I was coming into work one day, I don't know, it was maybe 18 months ago, and whenever I come in, and if I see you, there's always, your mind's always moving, you're always doing something, you're never just sitting still. Okay, so you never know, like the other day I came in and you're running across the alley for something, and I didn't even ask. I'm like, oh, okay, he's just running over there. Okay, and then I came in 18 months ago, and I see Bobby in the back of the brewery, behind the brewery, outside, sitting over like a little cooking stove kind of a thing with tinfoil all over the place. And I said, hey, buddy, what are you doing? And you said, oh, I'm just toasting real coconut for
oh, my God, I forgot about that.
Lazy.
For this Lazy. And it didn't even like register as like odd. I'm like, oh, of course he is. And I just went in and started what I was doing. And you remained outside in the back of the brewery toasting real raw coconut for that beer.
This is like the pain in the ass pumpkin that we've all divorced you because of it.
Yeah, I forgot
but
about that.
This is what you do. Like, I don't think, like when people come in
is
here.
Hard because to get the coconut
you got to nail that toast.
In, well, you were wanting the toasting in, but also coconut's like the fat doesn't want to mix with the water. Like you're fighting.
Yeah, I mean, and also I'm just I hate to say it, but I'm admiring the lacing on this hazy right now. That's, by the way, you never see that. You never see lacing on a hazy. At least
my point in bringing this up is that it's like vintage you. Do you agree?
Oh, yes.
Like he's not going to cut a corner.
No.
He's in the back.
No.
And I've told this story like when we have this beer on. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell people that, that I
And the Lazy's not on very often. But yeah, and he was decocting something the other day, and I was like, so is decoction really necessary? And you're like, well, it adds 3 or 4 hours of labor.
Refer to episode
really
XYZ, yeah.
And
or YYZ.
YYZ.
There will never be.
Thank you.
Bobby will never give in to the argument that it's not worth it. When
Just
it
as
comes
an
to the
aside,
beer.
we're using like the dried brown coconut
No, I don't
or
think
fresh green coconut.
Now you've reached
There
the
was
limit of
just
my
coconut.
Okay,
chunks.
so if you get a
knowledge.
coconut in
Yeah.
Wisconsin, it's usually going to be like a brown nut type thing, which is a dried where the husk is off.
Yes.
A green coconut, fresh off the tree,
Okay, yeah.
Oh.
is extremely soft.
Okay, no,
Like
yeah.
it's
brown.
used for
Yeah.
baby food in a lot of
Yeah,
places.
yeah.
Oh,
It's so soft.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't bet, but I'm thinking that you could do something with that, and it would have a different profile
Yeah.
than if you were using that dried coconut.
I'm sure
And
it would.
everything we think of as coconut,
Yeah.
is that dried nutty
Yes.
coconut.
Yes.
Whereas the fresh coconut with coconut milk,
Yep.
I think you might be able to do something more with it because it acts more like a fruit.
I think you're not wrong.
Instead of
And
nutty.
It's funny, side note, the coconut milk was a waste product until they identified a market for it, right?
Yeah.
Became like this billion-dollar industry at some point.
So
He's going to be online today
I
trying to
literally-
find
He
this
is,
coconut.
he's- well, he's
There's
reaching for the
100%. He's
page.
already written it down in his
Just go to the Asian market. They got all sorts of stuff in
yeah.
Wisconsin.
Go in and buy. I'm gonna buy 300 pounds of their
I'm going to bring you in a
coconuts.
rambutan some night. Best fruit in the world.
Okay.
Get it on
Wait,
Thursday.
what?
Rambutan. Best fruit in the world. It's the ugliest thing. It looks like it's hairy. It's so good.
We're gonna formulate a recipe, and someone's got to come up with an AZ name for it. It's all they all in with AZY.
Razy?
oh goodness. Okay. Well,
Sidebar.
The Blazy was probably our
Rambutan.
most popular.
That is an ugly fruit. What is that tail?
You pop it open.
It looks like a
and-
sea urchin.
But it's so good. Like the outside, yes. It's not. But when I was in Bangkok for several months, there's this woman at the corner. She ran Fruit Strand, and every day I went there and I got like a pound of rambutan, and it was so good. And when I went to the place on Wisconsin Avenue,
Yeah, that place is great.
And I remember the first time I went in, I said, "Do you have rambutan?" The woman's eyes just popped. She goes, "You know rambutan?" And it's not a fruit that travels really well, which is why you don't see it here. But they do get it there, and it sells out super fast because it is so good.
Can you arrange for some for a beer?
That's a lot.
It would, if you did a test batch, maybe of like 5 gallons or something, you
Well,
could probably squeeze enough out to get
most of the fruit that we. So there's a question. So how do we add fruit to these beers?
So
Oh, yeah.
Not coconut that you roast by yourself after shucking it yourself.
yeah, well, right.
So funny.
They're all.
Hey, what are you doing? Oh, just roasting raw coconut for the beer. Of course.
One of our best
Carry on.
suppliers is Oregon Fruit. I'm based in Oregon. They source fruit from all over the nation, but they process it there, and by process I mean they just blend it. They just puree it, so we don't have to. And then it arrives in 5 gallons or 50-gallon drums, and then we're able to put that directly into a beer. The issue, of course, when you put these fruits into beer is you need to make sure the yeast are not alive or not, that they are dormant.
They're not hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they are not dormant, they're just going crazy. They're going to start remultiplying and fermenting, and guess what? You're going to end up with not a 6.5% beer, but an 8.5% beer, and absolutely no sugar left behind.
And an exploding keg.
And
perhaps?
well, if you throw it in a keg before it's done, there's all those problems. So you got to fill out, you got to learn your yeast, and you got to, because you don't want to filter them out.
What
So
drove you to choose mango and blood orange
yeah, okay,
and I guess coconut as opposed to other fruits?
yeah. Well, it's just a little bit of a stepchild conversation because we were making.
Love Stepchild, by the way. We need an
We're brewing
episode
that
on
next
that.
week,
Oh,
so
it's the
it's out
best.
for the holidays. So we were sitting there with one of our first renditions of Ego, and we didn't hit our final gravity, so we didn't have sort of the mouthfeel I was looking for, and there was a few other things. And
You
I
were
was
very mad about this,
very
by the way.
mad.
I could, our
I was
home life
awake
changes
at
when
night.
he's mad about a beer. And I
So-
just knew you were pissy.
I knew it wasn't a bad beer. It needed more body, and so I'm like, I'm not dumping some milk sugar in there, which is one of those ways to make that milkshake we were talking about. I'm not going to do that. I've learned my lesson. I played that game, and it doesn't work that well. So I thought, well, we can get some sugar in there from another source. Great. So let's look for a fruit that gives us some notes that sort of play off of what we already have in there hop-wise. And you can look on the, you can look up the references and read all the adjectives. But rather than that, we just sit down with all the fruits we had available to us, and we just did some benchtop testing. And Blazy was just the blood orange mixed with alter ego, so blood orange hazy. Which, fun fact, it was actually blasé.
No, not fun fact. Stupid you fact.
It was sort of a nudge. It was I don't know. I'm just poking fun at the whole industry.
So you made so you weren't satisfied, and so you add blood orange.
So we add
to,
that.
Basically
and
salvage the beer that
unanimously, the staff all admitted how they were lying to me when I asked them, "How do you think this ego is?" And then as soon as they liked and loved what Blazy was, they had to admit that they were a little less impressed by the base beer at that time.
Yeah, they're like, alter ego's fine, but Blazy, oh my god.
Yeah. I prefer the Blazy over the Mazy just because I'm not a mango guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing that so. Mango is one of the reasons, one of my inspirations in this beer overall. So these hops that we choose, because I had an experience in London having a mango at a restaurant, an Indian restaurant in London, and it blew my mind and it changed me forever.
Can I just give some context to this story?
Yeah.
So Bobby's in England with the husband of his advisor from NASA. Anyway, so the husband, Crusher, he's a professional rock climber who writes rock climbing books. And
I love rock climbing books.
His specialty
you
is in
won't
the
believe
Utah.
what he
What
writes.
are they? The Utah
the Desert Towers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. And so, so he's British, and he's like, they're in London, and he's like, Bobby, let's go to this Indian food place. So they go, and they both decide to get the world's hottest
Vindaloo at level 10.
Is that Brick Lane?
I can't recall.
That's kind of the Indian district for a lot of really good Indian restaurants.
Could well be.
Anyway, so they're both dying because they've both had the hottest thing that they could possibly
this
eat.
is
Anyway,
beyond.
and they bring these mangoes out to them to both enjoy, and they're both I think you were both crying.
Oh, it was a spiritual exchange we were having. There's sweat off of the forehead.
And this is someone who's a professional rock climber in the heat of the desert. I can handle things, and losing it completely over this mango.
We capped it off with just a basic mango. I'm like, what's the big deal? Because they said they had 5 mangoes left. I'm like, what's the big deal? It's a mango. And at that time, I'm not even sure that I was that familiar with mango at all. But they're
so hard to cut.
Oh, this one was just like pudding. So they bring it out and they do the grid pattern on it, and you take your spoon. And it was just not overly ripe, but just perfectly ripe. It was just like a spoon off of the...
So... Fast forward,
Pudding
when Bobby's in a pissy mood because a beer is not treating him right or something's wrong or whatever, I'll actually go and buy him mango as a way of hey honey,
mango's probably my favorite
You need
fruit
a happy
now.
day.
Yeah.
Here you go, have
Can I
a
tell you
mango.
where my anti-mango bias comes from?
Where's that?
So I was staying at a place in Indonesia, and there was this gigantic mango tree in the yard of this place, and they weren't harvesting the mangoes. They just let them fall to the ground, and the ground is just full of these shitty, rotten mangoes. And I had to smell this all the time.
Oh, that's funny.
And that's where I kind of
They're very fragrant.
I think I developed this anti-mango bias.
Fair enough. And that's
That
fair.
is so Gary.
That is so Gary. So I will say that whether or not it was intentional, we built a beer that had a lot of terpenes that serve as a great base for a lot of other fruits.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out it works well with citrus in the case of Blazy, and this mango character. And then we played around with other
the cranberry
stone
one
fruits.
is really popular.
That was my favorite one.
We've done a tangerine, which is called Hazy. So
we did do a Hazy.
Yeah, we probably have half a dozen if we go back and really think about it. And
Have I ever told you about the time I was in Maryland and someone was removing paint from something and it was a terpentine terpene?
Oh my god, that makes me happy.
Man,
Oh my gosh, people.
So
Yeah, so that's
it's been a fun beer for us.
that's our alter ego.
And
What's the future?
I don't with this beer.
Yep.
The
What's
future
next?
with this beer. Well, I mean, immediately we're brewing the Lazy, which is Leizy, which is a really popular coconut and pineapple. Bringing that one back.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Coconut and pineapple works together.
It does. But it can be very polarizing.
Although this is where for the business I argue, do you need to be roasting this coconut? So coconut's really hard to put into the beers, and so I'm like, can you just make it a pineapple, and then people will think coconut pineapple. If you just
Allison,
get the pineapple.
he's the type of mind who needs to be out back roasting coconuts.
I hear you,
Yeah.
but I don't want to.
In all sincerity, if you can figure out a way to integrate fats into beer, you will hit something that will be as big as a hazy. You
Yeah.
could create a whole new genre of beer.
It's because homogenized beer is not. That's
Because you can then put bacon flavor.
Yeah,
into
that's
beer.
a no on. Chemistry won't allow it. So
I'm both
you're
intrigued
fighting intermolecular
and
interactions here.
terrified. Yeah.
Intrigued and repulsed at the same time.
Like I said, there's high-end bartenders at mixologists that have done fat washing,
And that's-
they
Yeah.
put it into mixed drinks.
But the emulsificate, you need to add emulsifiers and things.
This is ultrasonic emulsification is how we put THC into
it's
our
possible.
products. We've already done it, but you don't worry about foam with those products. Foam is an issue no matter how
That's true.
emulsified. So
You add any fat to it, your foam's gone.
See, you're thinking too much like scientists, not enough like marketers now. Bacon beer,
yeah.
which I like to call a Wisconsin IPA.
Yeah, but we did
bratwurst beer.
we did in the collaboration with our good friends at ABF. We did the Packer beer 2 years ago that had the cheese.
Oh God! Don't bring up the cheese
golden
curd beer.
ticket.
the cheese curds
We called it
and the
lava
beef
lamp.
stick
Lava lamp.
inside
And it started as an April Fool's joke here at McFleshman's.
in the clear can.
Yes, it was a clear
and,
can.
we were sitting at a table 10 feet from where we were recording this, and we were
All
talking
of
about
you
how
had
we should
had
make this
quite
real.
a bit, by the way.
Yeah.
From what I recall.
Yeah.
No, that is still. I'm not saying it's a good beer, but it's a good idea.
Marketing goal.
It was.
Because
It was
you can
fun.
sell
People
that.
bought it, and even
you can
if you
sell
just,
that at places when people come to Wisconsin, at all the dumb tourist shops
Yep.
in Green Bay, at the airport, stuff
will
like
give-
that, and they will buy that shit.
I will give Ben Fogel, our neighbor, credit for that marketing.
He followed through with
because
that.
we were just a bunch of assholes just drinking beers
Yeah.
and talking about turning an
that's how
April Fool's joke
revolutions are founded.
into
Oh,
a
goodness.
or
A bunch
thing.
of assholes drinking beer.
Yeah. Well, he did it, so he had a line on these clear cans, and the next day, I guess they went into clear cans because he just happened to have a line on them. So he went down to another brewery that was canning the next day
What
into
was
the
the
clear
base
cans.
for it? Was the Oktoberfest?
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
We just threw some.
There's always
Oktoberfest in there.
Oktoberfest
Yeah.
lying around.
Yeah.
the beef sticks when they came out of there were so good.
Oh my God.
They were so good. Right? I'm with you.
Well, and you can. The Maillard reaction is another way you can get bacon flavor. So you can probably do some smoked beers.
Well,
that
smoked
have
beer
that.
does suggest
well, and like
it
the
very,
Grotzer. We have
very
not made a
prominently.
Grotzer. If we made a
we have not
If
made
we can put
Grotzer.
beer in brats, we can put brats in beer.
We have not made a
Oh,
Grotzer.
my
a Grotzer,
Yeah.
Gary, you need to have a
Polish?
Grotzer. We'll make you one.
This is Jurassic Park level shit. We're talking about bringing velociraptors back to life.
Oh my God! Can
They were so concerned about if they could do it, they didn't ask if they should do
Oh
it.
my God! Can they be wearing little saddles?
Is this
That'd be fun.
another Ryan Heitzgebrod episode? It's kind of in that same vein. It feels.
Yeah.
You would, if there's a Nobel Prize for beer, you would win it if you could somehow put bratwurst in beer. And I'm not talking bits of bratwurst, but the bratwurst flavor in a beer.
Dude, the Grotzer,
We can do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of a ham and cheese beer.
it is the ham and cheese beer.
All right.
I can tell Joel wants a beer now. He's thirsty.
Wow.
So speaking
That's
of
going to
hazies-
conclude this episode of Respecting the Beer. I'm sure we've all turned you off on many different types of beer. The producer of Respecting the Beer is David Kelso. Without David, there would be no show. Please make sure to join the Facebook group to get updates between everything and to join the Patreon group where you can get specially brewed beers that are only available to Patreon members and to hear all the stuff that gets cut out, which I assure you is pretty substantial. Links to both of these are in the show notes. And until next time, please remember to respect the beer.